Thanks, Peter. Let me get. Okay, so I think you guys all have access to this. This is the NGS Academy website. This is not UCT dependent. Anyone can access this website. And I posted the link in the Google Doc, so you all have it. So under tool and resources, you have the help desk system. So this is what we basically want to have. So you can see that anyone can just come here, log a ticket depending on what topic you want, and you can type any questions. So this currently is situated in English, but the graphical interface is quite intuitive, and you can post your questions in other languages as well. Now, if you want to become a trainer, so you will need to come here. So this is where we actually vet you. So when you come and you register on the website, we will actually check either through LinkedIn or your PIs or your university degree to make sure you actually did those things, right? So over here you can submit the language, your time zone, country of residence, and over here is where you sort of tell us what category of specialization, right? So you can be a trainer in fungal pathogen surveillance, and you don't have any idea in any of the others. Then you just select fungal, and then you can say, I'm a specialized fungal person, and I have 3 years of experience. And then if you want to add another one, you can add more, and obviously that's dependent on the person, how competent you are, which topics they're competent.
Okay, so that kind of answers that question. Does something relate to the question, because how quickly does the person get a response? Is that also...
So I don't know if all of you would have this access, but we would have this access on the back end. But over here, you'll be able to see all tickets. And obviously, you can come here and select which category you want specifically, and you will go into that category specifically. So someone's asking this question, and then those that's a ticket description, and then this person, trainer, so it's sort of pseudonymous. So the trainer, then he will obviously be, he or she can obviously answer that question or provide personal details to answer those type of questions.
But I mean, if I'm submitting a ticket, I'm guaranteed to get an answer within a certain period of time.
So that's dependent, right? So that's why when you go back to this trainer registration page, we have a time zone. So you obviously need to select whatever time zone. So if you're submitting a ticket today and it's Friday, you might only get an answer, the following week because that's different.
But in terms of your KPI, it's like 20.
We don't have a KPI. We're not paying trainers, so we can't actually tell them you need to answer this within 2 hours. It's all volunteer based.
So that's what I'm saying. So it's so one of the things is like a lot of times people prefer to use, for example, WhatsApp because they know they can see it's there, they get an answer quicker. So there may be public platforms available, but it takes long to get an answer.
So you see,
it's ignored.
The problem with that is you have a lot of ethical and legal consideration. With Europe, you have that GDPR. In South Africa, you have like the Puppy Act, which is personal protection, whatever. So we actually can't. I don't know what the right word is. Like your personal information, if you don't want to share it, we can't force you to, share that. So that's why we're trying to make this anonymous, and we have this script actually here, or a text to say that if you register as a trainer, and if you at some point in time you want to stop being a trainer, you let us know, and we remove your details completely, and your information is not shared. But with that case, we can't enforce someone.
No. So I'm not saying that you should have it. I'm just saying one of the reasons why people may not use platforms like this is because they don't know how quickly they could get an answer.
But that's why I'm encouraging the more trainers we have, the more people and the resources we can allocate to.
Exactly.
So the trainers will be able to answer the questions.
Yes, sir.
So right now, it's like nothing until we
No, there is some trainers.
There are some trainers.
But it's just we don't have a lot. So you can see.
So this is a collaborative, this is a help each other collaborative.
It will be interesting to see the time tickets were submitted and when tickets were answered.
The thing is, a platform like this is not necessarily going to be used if you have a short, quick, like you have an error message, you can take a screenshot, you can post it on a Slack workspace, which exists. The idea, this kind of system is really helpful if you say, I'm starting an analysis on this pathogen, and we want to know, like, are there any recommended pipelines or any recommended resources? So it's not a quick one-off thing, it's something that the traders can think about and say, these are some useful resources that we can recommend, and we want to use this to facilitate like mentorship relationships. So the trading can remain anonymous for as long as they want to, but then it can be like an ongoing conversation with the trader. So you identify an expert in the field who can help you make some of those important decisions. It's not necessarily going to address all of your problems, but it's not designed to. So when there's a Slack workspace, you don't need to direct message Peter when every single question, like you don't have to do that. If you join a Slack workspace, there's a channel where you can post your error message. Someone else in the cohort or someone else in the workspace might be able to help you. So it means you can share the problem and everyone can help get involved in solving it. You don't have to like overload one specific expert. So the idea of this is really to leverage expertise in all different fields, give access to many different participants to experts, but without overloading a single expert. So it's really about bringing together everybody, getting everybody to work together to solve these problems.
But I think the thing is that like all of these things need to go into the ideas as models. So what are our models, right? Because at the moment, like the models are that we have available is come to a workshop like this one, okay? Or like I asked at the start of the training, when I asked where people turn for advice, okay, about half the class was turning to WhatsApp or Slack or something like that for advice, okay? Most people were not having a local expert, okay? So then this is another model, like this collaborative problem-solving space. The model of a directory of resources, okay? So just a list. But maybe, because one of the things that came up in our discussions in Lusaka is that when people find a list of 5 different pipelines, they don't know which is the one that they must use, you know? So this is like, so there is a definite feeling that it would be nice to get a human to help them find a solution, not just like look at a web page, you know, must I use this tool or that tool, you know? Or but we must take note, Paga, we must also maybe add to the document, we must take notes of all these different models of like how people can find solutions. It's clear to me that we're not going to get Stanislas working on Olusola's like data because of the issues that we discussed, right? Because that's not how it's going to work. That unless you have MOUs and like a whole lot of, you know, contractual paperwork, okay? But what we might have is like, so what are the ways, if we're not going to get that, then what are we going to get, okay? Are we going to get this model of like, well, Olusola sends a question there, somebody is registered and answers it, that's one possibility. Are we going to have, like, if there's communities of interest, are we going to have a community of interest, we have a monthly call on HIV, or whatever it is, okay? HIV community of interest says, okay, this is like, do you know about this tool, or whatever it is, you know? Another model, we've done in this training, but like when I was talking to Constantina, who is seconded from UK HSA to African CDC, okay? She was saying that their training model is do a training, give people homework, like, because Harris was saying that we're doing certificates of attendance, not certificates of competence. So their model is do training, give people homework, check in 2 weeks, see what their challenges are, check in another 2 weeks. But that means that your training, the funding, needs to fund the trainers, not just for the 2 weeks, but it needs to fund them to do the follow-up with the homework, okay? So these are some of the other, we're talking about training at the moment, but like the different, I think that we need to look at the different, that we're not, as I say, let's not give ourselves the mountain to climb at first, where we're all going to work on everything, okay? But let's look at like what are the different collaborative models, including this kind of crowdsourcing model. Kirsty, you said everyone's Slack. No, they're not. Okay, we don't have. We've got various WhatsApp groups on the various trainings, and I get different questions on different, or not I, but those groups. People ask questions on those groups, and I've seen people ask questions on every group that I've been on for the last 2 years. It's not coordinated, but they are, and the questions, the questions can be anything. Like the one time somebody was asking, does anybody have the package, have the insert for this PCR test? Because they had a PCR test, they didn't know where, and somebody actually found it. With the crowdsourcing, it was found. So do we need more chat groups or forums? So there's all these different tools.
I know that Slack is not the most user-friendly or widely used tool, but there are reasons that we recommend Slack, because we can't give your cell phone number to another organization so we can gather all the WhatsApp groups together, but we can do that on Slack, because your personal details are not shared on Slack. So the reason why I think it's worth just sitting with Slack for a little while means you can join a bigger community of participants and trainers. You can post in a group where everyone can see your message, or you can post directly to the trainer. You have that choice. But none of your personal information is shared, and it means that we can bring you into a bigger community of other people with exactly the same challenges as you, the same questions. You have an error message on the Windows installation of R. Someone else in the workspace has gotten exactly the same error message. So instead of one trainer having to go and search for meaning about that particular message, someone else has already seen it can help. So, Slack is about bringing together all of the different problems, all of the solutions, all of the expertise in and not like no personal data is shared, and it means that you can chat to other people from other institutions on the continent who are like battling with the same things, have the same ideas.
But I'm just saying, like Slack groups is an example. So what I'm thinking is that I want to make a note of all the different example solutions that people have. That national coordinating network is one example. That's a really nice idea of like getting people together. The CodeGen project, how that works, I'm not in the project, but I've seen it from the outside, is another interesting example of collaborative, because it's not just training, it's collaborative capacity building, Afro screen, things like that. And maybe, like even we could ask people to write about what was good or what was bad about Afro screen, maybe we can go and spend some time getting what's good and what's bad about Slack groups. What's good, what's bad about the African CDC help desk, these different things. And maybe we can build up a list of examples and then say that, okay, we want to develop something that draws from the best of these different things, So like, I quite like, as I said, I've maybe referred to it several times, I quite like the Elixir model with this idea of different pillars. We have different people. This was not that different from how ACA Bioinformatic used to work. So, and then, but this discussion has already been very useful to me to just see the challenges and opportunities and that we can do towards building a network. And I think that the network is going to be, if I think about the network compared to how I thought about this morning, I feel like the network is going to be not an inside network in your institution necessarily very deeply embedded, because to get all of those agreements is going to take long. But it could be an outside network of resources that, that people are made aware of, but it doesn't have to have an MOU. We don't need an MOU with every institution before we launch it, and then it can draw on. But one of the things that I want to avoid is the situation where people have great resources. I want to avoid two things, and in my thinking. The one is where people have great resources, but nobody knows about it. So the pipelines that are being